Hey guys, here I am. I've tried doing this intro like 3 times already, so okay, so welcome to Ask an Herbalist, and I thought I'd start by introducing myself and saying hi and kind of giving you a feel for how I approach things with herbs. It's pretty simple, really simple herbs for simple health, health through optimum nourishment, preventing and repairing with nourishment. You can't just target one area of the body with a powerful herb and expect the rest of the body just to keep up when it's undernourished. You need to take care of all. But I follow the teachings of my grandmothers. I also follow teachings of Susan Weed, just in my own teachings, you know. So I'm never going to advise anybody to use anything extremely strong or dangerous. You're never going to see me tell you to use essential oils. You're never going to see me agree with using essential oils, and that's probably going to send a bunch of you running right now. But it is what it is, and it's okay that we don't agree on things. So the way I'm going to do this, I think, is a spliced together video, because I've gotten way more questions than I thought I would. And while I'm going to try to get to a lot of them, if I do that in one big video, I'm going to talk forever. And I figure this way I can kind of cut it down into bits. I also think a lot of the questions can be addressed with singular answers. So if I emailed you and told you I'd be covering some of your concerns, and you don't exactly see your question being addressed, I really urge you to make sure that you're listening to all the answers being given. That way you might hear something in there that's similar to yours that I think could help you. With that being said, I'm not a doctor, never have been, never claim to be. You need to get your ass to a doctor if you've got a sincere condition going on. We need to work hand in hand with medical doctors, because you cannot help yourself with herbs if you don't know what you're trying to help. And the thing that scientific doctors are great at is diagnosis. They excel at it. So at least figure out what the hell's going on. And then you can work with herbs. So anyhow, I'm also going to be addressing your questions in a what I would do. If I had this situation, I would try doing this, and I would try doing this. And it's probably going to take me a while, get the words right there, to get into the swing of saying what I would do. So if you hear me slipping up in there, well, I'm human. So with that being said, I'm going to jump right into the easier questions that were more just broad, you know, what do you think about this, or what do you think about this, and then towards the end I'll get into the longer stuff. Also, at the bottom of every one of these videos, including this one, there's going, under the description, it's going to talk about the herbs that we discussed, and any links, resources, anywhere that I say, hey, go to this website, check this out. The website's going to be under there, so you don't have to try to frantically remember all this stuff. One last thing. You're going to notice that you can't leave a comment on this video. And I know that that's a bummer, because the majority of you are going to want to reach out and say really nice things. But I have been doing social media for quite a long time. My Aunt She's of the Woods is new. Prior to this channel was all like homesteading and things like that. I have noticed that the meanest trolls on internet land are on YouTube. And I have to enjoy what I'm doing, or it's just not worth my energy. So I don't like to come and read like crazy mean negative comments about how I look or how you disagree with me. No, I mean, I can handle people disagreeing with me, but I mean like the mean-hearted kind of stuff, you know. And then I am doing this to set limits, because as those of you that are here from my Instagram account at She's of the Woods, you know that I help as much as I can, but I find myself answering hundreds of DMs, questions, and I'm doing this as a way to still help and give back to the community, but to have limits on how much energy I put out. So I can't allow comments here, because you know that I'll start getting comments of health questions, and I know that I could just ignore them, but I'd rather tell you, if you have a question that comes up specifically in this video or triggers something for you, you know, thought process, you need to go to my website, which is wildwoodapothecary.org, and click on the Ask an Herbalist thingy and ask me through there. That way it's all in one area for me. I'm not bouncing all over internet land trying to like answer these questions, because I know myself. In order for me to have limits, I have to stop that from happening. Meaning, I'll tell myself I won't answer those questions, but I'll be there answering those questions. And then I'm tired, and I'm grumpy, and I'm not taking care of myself. And when I don't take care of myself, I don't take care of my family, and I don't help you, and it's just a big old thing. So, no comments on the videos. Alright, let's get rolling and jump into the first little bit of questions. Okay, so a few other things, because that's how my memory works. I am going to be using this in front of you guys. You know, I have knowledge, but I'm a human. I'm a tired mom. I'm healing from pharmaceutical damage from benzos. So I gotta write stuff down. You know, when I research stuff, like I can remember this stuff, but if I want to be detailed, you're gonna see me looking down at this book every now and then. And as much as I try not to, I do cuss now and then. I try not to, but the more I try not to, the more I'm gonna. So, just giving you that heads up in case you have littles watching. Okay, the first one I wanted to address here is a big one. And I stalled there for a second because I was thinking about, I'm going to move this. Hold on. Because I keep seeing myself in the little screen, and I'm like, so I can make eye contact better now, because I'm not looking at myself being like, God. You know how that goes. Okay, so the first question I got, well, not the first one, but the first one I'm addressing is, are all conifers safe to ingest? No. 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 And that's a big one, and I thought it was a good one to jump into this time of year because of, well, that's the only thing green right now in a lot of places, so our minds go to these magical trees that are still alive for us, and there's good medicine there. But conifers, meaning a tree that does not lose its needles, are vast. You know, you think pine tree and you think they're all the same. Well, there's tons of pine trees, and some of them are not poisonous and some of them will kill you. It's a broad term, you know, like we got pine, spruce, larch, yews, firs, hemlocks, junipers, it goes on. I'm not familiar with all of them. I'm familiar with what's in my area, you know, but at the end of the day, I need you to remember that trees are just really big plant people. Each one of them needs to be thoroughly researched, identified, and I want you to identify from 3 different sources that are not blogs about making pine needle tea. I want you to find like a scientific paper, something from the USDA, something from your Forest Service Department, and I want you to be like, you know what, I know for a fact that this tree is this tree. and that should be the case as far as identifying with three, from 3 different sources that are not vague sources for any plant you're working with, because it's better to know than to be really dead or sick. I think I said that backwards. Same thing. So, like, okay, the biggest one I see people saying, oh yeah, that's fine, is ponderosa pine. Stop it. No, it's not okay. There is links and there are papers, and most of them were done by veterinarians, because cattle, when grazing gets low, especially in a dry year, or if you're not pulling them off the mountain soon enough, they start eating on the pines, and they start eating ponderosas, and they start having violent miscarriages, early births, they hemorrhage. It's got just bad. Oh, where's it at here? See, this is why I wrote it down, because, like, I know this stuff. Oh, here it is. It's isocropic acid. And a lot of pines, like lodgepole, common juniper, have the same thing. So people start making teas out of these, and they're like, oh, you know, this isn't no big deal. And then herbalists say, oh, well, that's not founded, or that's for cattle, and you have to eat hundreds of pounds. And I'm like, okay, here's the deal. Cattle weigh thousands of pounds. You do not. A cup of tea for you is like them eating a freaking bow of ponderosa pine. It's the same concept. Why even risk it? Plus, a lot of the northern tribes here use ponderosa pine as an abortion method. But don't do that at home. Don't do that at home, people. They knew what else they were doing. They had a lot of other things, you know, to help it from, to stop it, not help it from killing them, because it causes you to hemorrhage. So I would not use internally, and I would very, very, very use caution externally, using ponderosa pine, lodgepole, and common juniper. Now, okay, another one that's not the same is the yew tree. A lot of you guys see me using that in my breast massage oil. That is external use only, and I don't use a lot of it, and I'm familiar with it. You take that internally, you're going to get dizziness, shakes, the shits, really bad intestinal stuff, which is why it's not safe to use my breastfeeding oil. Here's where my mind was. Not safe to use my breast massage oil while breastfeeding. You know, anything you put on your breasts goes into your milk. Anything you put into your body goes into your milk. But yeah, so you don't want to mess with the yew tree either. And then there's other ones here. The Australian pine. You know, larch, tamarack, as some people call it, larch, are the ones that actually lose their needles. They do have medicinal qualities, but if you don't know what you're doing, like on a big level with these plants, don't mess around. You can hurt your kidneys. But at the end of the day, generalization of conifers is dangerous, and I see so many blogs just saying pine needle tea, you know, or this tea or that tea, and not giving a specific reference to which type of tree to use. You could get overwhelmed trying to research every conifer that's poisonous. So it's easier to just identify what you're thinking on using or what's in your area with the 3 times method, and then go from there and say, I know that this tree for a fact is safe to use in XYZ way. You know, you just got to be careful because they're plants. So let's see, did I miss anything here? But yeah, so stay away from the articles that are written. Blog posts tend to be, I don't know, if they're about making tea or syrup and they don't give any like hard facts or external links, or urge you to make sure that it's this specific tree, they just say pine. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, and do not use your Christmas tree unless you went and cut that thing down yourself. It was grown at a farm. with pesticides and a shit ton of fertilizers. And you don't want to tincture that, you don't want to smudge that, you don't want to make oil out of that. I know it sucks to waste it, but that is one thing that you can do to make a conscious decision if you're going to buy a live tree, is to support somebody local who picked up a Christmas tree tag and actually went to these mountains and cut down trees instead of clear cutting trees to grow trees to sell you during Christmas time, because that's what Christmas tree farms are anyhow. So I think I covered that, and in a second I'll jump to the next. Okay, the next one is and isn't a simple question. They asked what do I have in my medicine cabinet, basically. They put it more tactfully than that. They're like, show me what you got. No. So I keep and use, let me rephrase that, getting words to work in my head here. So they asked how I know what to keep of what I make. Well, here's the deal. I don't make anything that I or a family member don't use, so I keep everything I make. Now, as regards to how bad am I at neglecting my own health while I help other people, that's kind of just the curse of most healers. But no, every time I make a batch of something, I try to keep at least 4 to 5 things of said, you know, bottle, salve, whatever, because I'm bad at being like, oh, here, you need this, you know, and I need at least one in the cabinet for myself. And then as far as like what should a family have, sometimes that's about as unique as a snowflake, because it depends on what your family dynamic is. How old are your kids? How old are you? You know, what sexes are in your family? You got all boys, is it all girls, is it an even mix? How old are they? I think I already said that. But so here's some like basic ones that probably almost anybody can benefit from that I have. So elderberry tincture, right off the bat. It's immune boosting. If you make it with blue elderberries, it's not going to taste like crap. And you don't have to add a bunch of honey to get kids to take it. The black elderberries tend to taste really bitter, but they're the super famous ones, but they're all the same. And people think red elderberries are poisonous. They're not any more poisonous than the black or the blue. The plant itself is. And you don't want to eat any elderberries raw unless you really, really, really wanted to go to the bathroom for a long time. So cook your elderberries or make them a tincture. You can use vodka, 100 proof vodka. So it's 50% water, 50% alcohol. So you don't mess around with the ratios. Nobody's here. Jill, you're fine. Sorry. You don't mess around with the ratios, you know what it is. You don't have to cook your elderberries before you make a tincture. Isn't that right, Jill? Sorry, I got a lot of dogs. So, Yarrow tincture. That's another immune boosting one. It's one that I personally use as a preventative. If I'm stressed out, if I'm going to be around a bunch of little snotty kids. Anything like that, I'll take, you know, personally, and because I'm small, so you got to do your own research about what would work for your weight or whatever. I take about 3 to 4 drops a day preventively. Note, Yarrow will make you pee more. On that note, it's really good for urinary tract infections. And wounds, you can put that right on an open wound that is being stubborn to heal. Yes, the vodka's going to burn if it's like a fresh wound, but it'll help. Oh, and I've used it for bug bites, right on a bug bite. It'll stop it from itching. Echinacea. Now, I know you're thinking, why don't you just use echinacea? Well, there's a lot of studies that show that echinacea is a great antibiotic, but it doesn't work so well as a preventative. The way it works is to increase your white blood cell count, which attacks whatever's going on in you. So I've always thought it was more of a stress on your body to constantly be creating more white blood cells when you don't need them. And I personally don't advise or do this myself. I won't take echinacea for more than 8 days in a row. And my max dose personally is only about 10 drops, but I'm small. You know, my son, sometimes he might take more if we're fighting a cold. But I'll take all those together too. Not blended together really, but you know, I got a shot glass. That's how I take shots. Goldenrod. I like this one. It's great for allergies. It's great for kidney stones. Once again, you can kind of see like where my husband's got kidney stones pretty bad. Well, he did. He does, off and on. Depends on how well he's taking care of himself. But they're good for that. It makes you pee. It makes you pee just like a Yarrow. And you'll pee and you'll pee and you'll pee. I personally use it to assist myself from a kidney infection I got 2 days before the Black Friday shop update. And that was nuts. So then there's chickweed and violet tincture and wild violets. Once again, look up violets, find scientific names. I'm horrible with the Latin stuff. I might put all the Latin names of these down there just because somebody's going to yell at me about it in the description. So chickweed and violet are both good for fevers. They're both really good cooling herbals and they're safe. I don't use chickweed for that personally because look at me, I'm like a stick and nothing I can do about it. And chickweed kind of helps you lose weight, and so I only use it for my own personal uses, ovarian cyst reduction. I had that one. I haven't had another, but you know that was pretty painful, so I'm trying not to get another. But violet works the same in reducing fevers, and so I have that on hand for myself and my kids. Then I also really like to have motherwort on hand and milky oats. So they're both really good anti-anxiety herbals, and they're not going to kill you, so that's a good thing. They're not going to knock you out either. They basically are just really calming. The motherwort, I like to use it at night. I've got PTSD, so night terrors are no joke. If I'm super stressed out, it doesn't help as well because you know you can only fight off so much stuff. That one's good. That one really just kind of brings you in the center. And then the milky oats is just like my go-to during the day. It's a really good nervine. That is just, okay, some of you had to have grown up in farmland. You know oats, when they're just like mid-spring and they're green and they've got that real sweet milk in them, milky oats, that stuff is like magic. And if you tincture it, only then, not before, not after, you get all that calming medicinal qualities of it. I'm not going into like super extent of what herbs do on here because I'd be talking longer than I already do, and I want you to say, okay, these are what she says she uses. I'm interested in using this, but I want you to go and research this shit. I don't want you to just be like, oh, she says do this, I'm doing this. Don't do that, please. Google is your friend, and you can read a lot about it. Any of these herbs I've mentioned. So I want you to kind of take some of this into your own hand. You can ask an herbalist, but then I want you to like verify because you know it might not work for you. No, you're not going outside. You're fine. She just came in. She just came in. Bulk domestic comfrey, and I say domestic by domesticated, like grown on a farm, nursery, wherever, your backyard, as long as it's not wild comfrey. You cannot use wild comfrey internally. They have specific proteins that will damage the shit out of your organs, specifically your kidney and your liver. But the stuff grown, basically, if you're going to buy wild comfrey from anywhere online, it's domesticated. You know, not, excuse me, comfrey. Don't buy wild comfrey online. I think I said that wrong. I don't know. So I like comfrey for wounds, like a poultice, and a poultice is just where you boil some water, soak your herbs for 30-40 minutes, bring it back up to warmth. You can take the plant material, put it in a bandana, put it on what you need. You can take that liquid out and just soak a rag in it. About 2 summers back, when I was still way up on the mountain off grid, husband was gone firefighting, kids were home. I got, out of the blue, a Bartholin cyst. And that is down there in your vulva. And they can get up to the size of like a fucking lemon. Mine did not get that big. I think I would have died. It was the most painful thing in my life, and I've been through some pretty painful experiences. It got about the size of a golf ball. And I couldn't sit up. I could barely walk. and Comfrey and Plantain, which I'm going to get to here for a second. Poultices were what I got to bring it to a head. So, you know, I'm down on this couch because I can't really move. It's my awkward preteen son at the time, and well, he's still my son, he's just not a preteen anymore. And my daughter, and I just had to be like, Mom can't close her legs. I mean, I had a blanket and stuff, but they knew what was going on, and it was pretty bad, and I had to use that Comfrey to pull that to a head. But here's the deal. You can use Comfrey on burns. You can use Comfrey on bad acne. I'll get to that further in. It is just an amazing, they call it knit bone, if you've got a fractured bone, if you've got weak teeth, if you've got any of that. Infusions, drinking infusions, which I'll get to. It's great, and I used it to save my life. Never even went to the doctor, which I don't suggest you do. I was 17 plus miles away from the nearest pavement, and another 80 plus from any doctor that would accept what little insurance I have, so I just took care of myself. I'm pretty sure it was brought on by stress, but that's a whole other day of talking. So Comfrey. Then, you know, I also like to have raspberry leaf on hand. You got a young girl in your family who's got bad cramps. Do you have bad cramps? You start drinking raspberry leaf tea a few days before your cycle. It'll help a lot. More on that later. So ginger. I like a ginger tincture when I'm traveling. Ginger candies, as long as they're not, 99% corn syrup. You gotta read the label on that. Ginger tea, because it's great, absolutely great for an upset stomach, and it's safe for pretty much anybody. Of course, do your research. I don't know. Somebody's probably allergic to ginger, that's for sure. Chamomile's the same. It's a good way to calm you down. It's actually a great digestive aid. Most kids will freely drink it if you add some sweetener, honey, a little bit of sweet cream, something like that. I really like to have plantain oil on hand, which is as simple as putting plantain in a jar, covering it with oil of your choice, letting it sit for 6 to 8 weeks, straining out, and you have plantain oil. If you use fresh plantain, keep it somewhere cold. You can even do your fridge, but usually like a low cover will do, no light, so it doesn't mold, and then you need to strain it at 6 weeks. Slippery elm bark. This one's kind of controversial because the trees are on a watch list, so you need to make sure that where you buy from is ethically sourced. You can harvest the bark without hurting them. A lot of companies don't give a shit and rip all the bark off. So just ask questions when you buy. That is great for sore throats, diarrhea, constipation, you name it. Coughing, and it doesn't even taste that bad. I usually just mix it in with a little bit of water. A lot of people think that slippery elm is a laxative. It's not. A lot of people think that it is because it will make you go if you need to go. If you're going too much, it'll make you stop. So in reality, it's a regulator. And the amount you would use for a sore throat is not going to be enough to clear anything out or stop anything up, really. Once again, look up how much you think you should use. Read in the slippery elm. It's pretty easy to do. Let's see, I was going to say something else about it. Oh, it heals your gut. It repairs the mucus lining. So, it's really good for that. Boy, I could keep going about what I have here. I hope some of that was helpful. What else? Boy. I'm drawing a blank. Even though I just said I could keep going, I'm drawing a blank. I guess I would say look into what happens to your family the most. What hurts the most? What goes wrong the most? Who gets sick the most? What kind of sickness do they catch the most? Are you catching sinus infections? You got bronchitis? And then look into what safe, simple herbals help with that and try to slowly have those things on hand. The best time to stock herbals up, if you've got really bad summertime allergies, start getting the stuff you need in the winter. That way you have it. Try to consciously get things before you need them. You can say that about anything in life. But you know, in the wintertime, you should have all your stuff ready in the summer. It's just kind of like following cycles here with herbs and stuff. So I'm probably talking a bit too fast. That kind of just happens to me if I have anxiety. I'm probably not making great eye contact with the camera. And I'm not going to rewatch these videos because I'll be like, oh God, that's horrible. I can't put that up there. And I'll get self-conscious and I will see every little mistake I make with wording. And I'll rip myself apart and then just not do it ever again. So, any mistakes or backwards words, that stuff happens. I have all this stuff in here, but getting it out to you on a verbal, I'm good at typing. So, some of you might be disappointed with like how I can word myself online really well, but coming out ain't so great. Okay, we're gonna jump to the next thing. Okay, perioral dermatitis. I had to practice saying that. It's super common, unfortunately, amongst women. It's an eczema-related skin condition, and the person who messaged me has chronic flare-ups. A lot of antibiotic use, which, welcome to America. That wasn't to be mean. I mean, like, everybody in America takes antibiotics, and women are known to take more, which is probably why this is a really prevalent condition amongst women. I mean, anytime there's anything wrong down below, they say, take this antibiotic. Here, eat some more amoxicillin. So, if I had perioral dermatitis, I'm proud of myself for saying it halfway right. Right off the bat, I jump into Comfrey. Comfrey infusions. And there's going to be a quick video, I think, after this, how to make an herbal infusion. So, make sure to watch that. So Comfrey, it's an amazing skin healer. It will heal you from the inside out. I would make sure that I was drinking a quart every 4 days, and then probably, I mean, I throw some other things in there. You know, you could also look at your other needs. Nettle's a go-to one. Nettle infusion is just good for everybody. So I would do the Comfrey infusion internally. You're drinking this. It's just like tea. It's just a long brewed tea. And for a week, you know, 4 or 5 days. And then I would do Nettle. And then I would do Comfrey. And then I would do Nettle. Back and forth. You can add other ones in there. You can go onto my Instagram account and scroll way down until it says a bright red glowing jar. And it'll talk about how to make them. If you don't want to wait for the video, and which ones I use and why they're amazing. Or you can just Google Susan Weed healing herbal infusions and read all about them. They're pretty amazing. So Comfrey's going to help heal your skin from the inside out. I would also be let me get my words together there. I would also be doing Comfrey infusion on my face, wherever it's probably around your lips, anywhere that I was affected, I would use it there. I would also start getting plain yogurt into your diet. Not berry flavored, not lemon flavored, not only slightly sweet, plain yogurt. And a cup or more a day, and keep that up. The rest of your body will thank you for it anyhow. It's going to help repair your gut. I'd say a lot of this is coming back to your gut. Antibiotic issues, flare up issues like this, and they kill off all of your good gut flora. So do the plain yogurt, and I know it's kind of sour. I have found that the whole milk ones taste better than the low fat ones, and you need the healthy animal fat anyways. It will always rival probiotics you can take over the counter. Most of those don't survive your gut anyways. I add honey to mine. I didn't say you can't make it taste better. I said don't buy the crap that's made with a bunch of sugar. There's a difference. You can add fruit and stuff like that. And so, like, with that, we're going to talk about your gut health. If I had this issue, I would just make sure that I had no essential oils in my home, in my diet. You think you're not using them, but your shampoo is scented, your dish soap is scented, your cleaner is scented. These VOCs are horrible for you. Volatile organic compounds. Don't let the organic word confuse you. They're horrible for your health. They kill your gut bacteria. Many are hormone disruptors. Doesn't matter if you're using them internally or externally, that you're breathing them in. Your lungs are an external, hope they're not external. Your lungs are an internal part of your body. What you breathe in goes into your body. Remember that. Oh, I only use them externally. I'm like, well, do you smell it? Because that goes internally. So, on that note, I'd also get rid of chlorine out of your diet. You're like, what chlorine's in my diet? Well, it's in your tap water, I guarantee that. It's in your shower. It's crazy. When we come down off the mountain, we didn't have water for a long time last summer. Long story. I would come down and take showers at my folks's, and it was like I walked into a pool maintenance room. Granted, I grew up, my dad takes care of pools for the city and all kinds of other stuff, so I know what chlorine smells like. But it was like chlorine gas, and that's what it is when you take a warm shower. The chlorine comes out of your water, you're getting it on your biggest, organ in your body, and you're soaking that in, and it's killing all your good bacteria. So how do I get that out of my life? Well, you go online to Amazon and you get a Berkey shower filter. Berkey filters for drinking water are expensive. Berkey shower filters are not. You can get one for about $40, and it just like goes in behind your shower head, and it takes all the chlorine out of your water. And now you can't drink that water. It turns into a different type of chemical that is inert, but you still don't want to drink it. But it does get the chlorine. It's night and day. And then you could get a filter. I do like the Berkey filters. I love those. I use raw river water in them when things break down. And they're completely safe to do that with. And fluoride too. That one's just a no-brainer, but it's in toothpaste, it's in your water, it's in all that kind of stuff. So burdock tincture has been shown to help pretty good with echinacea. I would probably start with a small dose. It helps clean your blood and such, and work my way up. And a small dose being like 3 to 4 drops, and just kind of keep at it. And then remember that these things take time. We are not working with instant gratification pharmaceutical things here. So give yourself a couple months to see a difference. A lot of this, I think, is related to hormones. And I'd say those flare-ups, I'd be willing to bet if I had this issue. See, I'm trying to get into that. If I had this thing, anyhow. Time when your flare-ups are they just with your moon cycle and then maybe 2-ish weeks after when you ovulate or whenever, get yourself like a period app on your phone where you can like click when you start and when you finish, and then like it tells you when you ovulate. And then I want you to start maybe clicking on there and adding when you flare up and see if you can't time them. That would be pretty helpful to see if it's super connected to your hormones. No, you guys are okay. Male ladies here. I would also throw into that the red clover infusion for your hormones. But with a red clover, it's a blood thinner, so you don't want to do that for more than like a 3 or 4 day period, and that's like just drinking a cup a day of it. And it's really good with sweet cream. It's like one of my favorite teas. I actually, I do use it during my moon cycle because, well, it thins the blood out, so you have less cramps. I'd also say kelp infusions would be good. That's just going to get you like a mass amount of like healthy nutrients anyways. And just kind of help repair your body. We're all chronically malnourished. We are the most overweight. Not saying you're overweight. I just mean we are the only country we're so obese yet chronically malnourished because the food we're eating is just empty. And so our body's like, I can't use this, I'm going to store it. I can't use this, I'm going to store it. With that being said, I need people to hear me say, I corrected myself, I was going to say I need you, because I said it anyways, I would really, really, really start kicking up the animal fats in my diet. Your skin needs fat, healthy fat. Healthy fat comes from long brewed bone broths with free-range organic bones. You know, even if you're a vegetarian, please find a way to get healthy animal fats back in your diet. Even if you're a vegan, especially if it's for if you're vegan for just ethical reasons, or if you're not eating meat because you're like allergic to it, I would look at bone broth as a way to I would look at it as a supplement more than I'm eating meat, and you could ethically source what you're making with. And even if you just drink a cup every other day, your body would be happier. But I'm drifting. Your skin really needs these fats, and you just cannot replace animal fats with any other type of fat. You just can't. They're not the same. They're not processed the same. They don't give you the same type of healing. They're not as readily available, and a lot of them are way worse for the environment if you want to look at it that way. Another thing that I would avoid if I had this, or any eczema really, is sodium laureth. That stuff is horrible, and it's in almost every toothpaste you've ever used. You got to find one that says it specifically doesn't use it. There's like a Jason C. Fresh one, and there's a few others. I'm going to type out that word on the bottom of the description of the video so you can Google it and read about it. It's pretty bad. It just kind of just attacks you from the inside out on your skin. Are you, and I keep hitting this, it's just going to happen, are you using soap on your face? If you are, I wouldn't do that. I know that that's like, oh, I gotta get the grease off, but it's like a never-ending cycle. Like, the more you wash your hair, the greasier it is. And you say, oh, but if I don't wash my hair, it's so greasy. Well, if you were in a situation, just hear me out here, where you could stop stripping the grease from your hair for a long period of time, your hair, your scalp would adjust itself. I know that from personal experience with, you know, almost 19 years of dreadlocks. When I first started all those years ago, it was disgusting for all different kinds of reasons. But the main thing is all the grease. And then now I don't have greasy hair at all. But if you do have to use soap, if you really want to use soap, I would urge you to go and find some pure, unscented tallow soap. Not lard soap, not palm oil soap, not soy soap. Tallow. Tallow, tallow, tallow. Rendered fat from a red meat animal. Beef. It's going to be beef, what you find online, and that's fine. Make sure it's from an ethical source, you know. It is the closest thing to our fat. And this will sound really weird because I'm talking about grease, but dry skin is greasy skin. I know that that sounds completely not right, but when you wash your skin and you strip off your oils, it goes, oh shit, I need to make more, and it pumps out more because it got dry. It got dried out. If you give your skin the fats it needs, with this, if you're going to use soap, tallow would be great because it's going to put those good essential fatty acids back on the affected area. Besides, oh man, if you have not used tallow soap, you should give it a try. It is so luxurious and bubbly, and it cleans you so well without making you feel all dried out. But stay away from the scents unless they're using a pure hydrosol, which is okay. Let me drift here for a second, just because I know you want to know what hydrosols are. When people make essential oils, they are actually making hydrosol. An essential oil is a byproduct of hydrosol distillation. Now they're saying, well, I make essential oils. I get that. I get the wording. But they're a byproduct. You might be throwing away the hydrosol, which is a shame. But essential oil is a byproduct of hydrosol distillation. And hydrosol is when you take a bunch of herbs, you put it in your distillation pot, which is a copper still, like for moonshine. And the water that comes out is this beautiful, medicinal, flowery, beautiful, whatever it smells like, you know, whatever plant you're using, water that you can use to make your soap or what have you, without using the dangerous essential oils. So, that aside. Let's see, I already talked about the tallow soap. This is a hard one. How much stress are we dealing with in life? Our body tends to show our stress levels through our weakest area. If you have irritable bowel syndrome, let's say, you know if you get stressed, it's going to be worse. Same thing with eczema or anything related. If you get stressed, it's going to be worse. I tend to get cysts down below. If I get stressed, there it goes. You know, or I'll get a cold sore, you know, because I'm just like, fuck, I'm stressed and I feel it coming, you know. So I know it's so easy to be like, you need to cut stress out of your life. But can you? Can you let go of some things? Can you work things around? Can you learn how to say no? That was a big one for me personally, learning how to be like, no, I'm not going to go, even though you really want me to. I really don't want to go. I really don't want to hang out. I really don't want to go to the store, but I don't need to go to the store. Or, I mean that seems like little trivial stuff, but like, no, I'm not going to bake 80 cookies for the school thing. I'm not going to, I guess 80 cookies is a lot, but you know what I mean? I'm not going to put my kid in every single class I can. I'm not going to go do yoga with you. I'm not saying like become this big antisocial person. I'm saying, how often are you saying yes when you really want to say no because you're afraid you're going to offend somebody? I was doing it a lot. I mean, even volunteering myself for things, saying, oh, I can do that for you, I can help you, I can do this, I can do that. No. Stop. Cut it out. And it'll really, really help any type of health situation, really. And this comes back to the hormone thing. Okay, so I think that a lot of this is related to our moon cycles, even if you, let's say you're menopausal, so I guess I could get to that later. Even if you're on birth control, well then if you're on birth control you're not even having a real period, and that's a huge thing that's not good for your body. But I really want you to start taking care of yourself during your moon time. You know, nourishing herbal infusions. The raspberry is a good one, great one. Look, that's what this is right now, because you know I was like, oh, I'm a week early, but I'm still gonna do the video, so I've got this going. Usually I like to do this to make this infusion. This is how easy it is. Put an ounce by weight, usually about a cup worth of a single plant material. You cover it with boiling water. You put a cap on it. Do not shake it. It will explode. Hot water out from under the lid. Don't do it. Like now I can shake it. That made you jump. Oh, she shook it. Now I can shake it because it's cooled down. Let it sit for 4 hours or more. If you tend to let it sit for more than 4 hours, it does get stronger, but it does not taste great, no matter what herb you use. I then strain it, you know, push out a liquid, and then you just warm it up and drink it like tea. That is how easy it is. Some taste better with salt, some taste better with honey, you know. Okay, so I would start working on taking care of yourself, paying attention to your body, taking it easier, definitely cutting out the stress, especially during your moon time, allowing those hormones to do what they need to do and give them the support they need. Oh, on that note, women in general, please stop eating soy. It's a long estrogen, meaning, oh, soy is so good for it. No, long estrogens cause freaking cancer. They disrupt our hormones. They are bad, bad news. And soy isn't everything. So you can really help your body during your moon time and every other time if you treat soy like the legitimate poison that it is. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that. People like tofu. It's just bad for you. It wasn't even a food. It was a cover crop, and somebody's slaves were starving in China, I believe. It was either China or Japan. In China, and they didn't have anything else to feed them, and they said, eat these. And that's how people started using soy. I mean, that was like a very vague part of it. So do go research if you want to know how soy came to actually be eaten. And you'll see. But just get it out of your diet, get it away from you. Don't let your daughters eat it. I mean, people worry about the hormones in milk, which is funny because hormones haven't been added to dairy milk for a very, very long time. In reality, what's doing the most damage, although those hormones were bad, don't get me wrong, soy. Soy isn't everything your kids are eating. Soy. You tell yourself, oh, this soy bar is healthier than this. Oh, this soy milk. Oh, this soy. Especially for girls. There's some weird stuff for men where it can help with the prostate, but we're talking about women here. So, also, last thing here, I would start drinking more water. I'm thirsty, my lips are dry. I wasn't staged, I was like, more water. How much water aren't you drinking? Most people in the wintertime are pretty damn dehydrated because we're not drinking things in order to cool us down, so we just don't drink as much and we figure, well, it's cooler, we're not getting dehydrated. Now, more people are submitted to the hospital for severe dehydration on a steady basis in the wintertime than they are in the summertime. Or it's a factor, you know, so, and what other underlying condition is. Like, they might not go there because they're dehydrated, but they are discovered to be dehydrated. So, try really hard to get at least 4 quarts of water in you a day. And of course, it's best if it doesn't have chlorine in it. And if you could get spring water, that would be amazing. Make sure that it's from a safe source, not by roadside. I cringe when I see people getting water from a spring next to a very active, like a highway. You know, a dirt road might be okay. Stay away from agricultural areas. You know, these things go into the ground and get into springs. So the higher up you go for a spring, the better. So, I really hope that some of that was helpful for eczema in general. And just because this popped into my head, you can also take that Comfrey and do a compress like I talked about earlier, and you can put that right on the area. I keep touching here because most of it, from what I've looked into, is around the lips. Some women get it around the eyes. But you can put that right on there. Oh, and so this is why I have notes, because I try not to. I'm like, oh yeah. Stop wearing makeup. If you do, it doesn't matter how natural it is. You're plugging those pores, and I know that it's really hard, and that's a hard thing because especially if it really affects you, your self-esteem. But it's better to get used to who we are as people, and then when you do that, if you do these things, it could really help you. And then, but with the makeup, it's just a vicious cycle of covering up, agitating skin, putting more on, putting more on, putting more on. Geez, that's the same thing for acne. But, see, I'm going in loops here. This is why I'm doing different segments. So I hope those things helped you, and I'll be back in a second to talk about the next thing. Okay. The next one is somebody who's having migraines at the base of her, your head and neck come together. So many of you are going to be like, oh my god, I've been buying stuff from this lady. Shit. So this one was really interesting to me because if I always had migraines, sorry, this piece of paper is bugging me. If I always had migraines when I remembered my dreams, I just find it interesting. This person always has these when she remembers her dreams. Right off of the bat, to deal with the migraine issues, I'd go with chaga tea tincture. Chaga is amazing. It's great for everything from depression to mood lifting. Sounds like the same thing, but it's not. To adrenal fatigue, to migraines, and more. So definitely read in way more about chaga. I also get going on stinging nettle infusions. Really get those nutrients built back up in your body. It's just going to help body. You said body twice. That kind of stuff. I'm like, oh. And then oat straw is a really good nervine tonic. Oat straw infusion. It's the same kind of like as Milky oats, except for you're getting more of the nutrition. Like all the good things you've ever heard about oatmeal, it's like that times a million when it's in an infusion. But you're going to use the straw of oats, which is why they call it oat straw, not the oat itself. There's way more nutrition in the oat straw. She's gonna bark. There's nothing out there. Jill, you're okay. She didn't do it. And I would really start alternating those. 1 week with nettle infusion, 1 week with oat straw infusion. Don't mix your herbs and infusions, meaning some people get the idea where they're like, I'm going to put all this in a jar and put it together. Well, that's not a good idea for a lot of reasons, and one of them is, even though these are safe, simple herbs, if you had a reaction, how are you going to know what you had a reaction to? You got to narrow down which of the however many herbs you might have a reaction to. So it's just best to alternate. Not that you'd have a reaction to these. Most people, oats, some people stay away from oats because of gluten, because of the contamination, but I don't know that you would have that issue with the straw per se. And of course, I'm not a doctor. Remember, I'm not a doctor. Because, I grew up in wheat and oat country, northeastern Oregon, and when they bring in the straw, they're not using the same threshing machines as they do when they're threshing the wheat and stuff. So I don't think that. I don't think, but I don't know. So how about I say that? Anyhow, those will help you build optimum, there's the word, health and nutrients. But I'd also ask you, what are you dreaming about? Like, you don't have to answer that to me. But are you paying attention to your dreams? Are you writing these things down? Are they nightmares? Are they night terrors? Are you clenching? I do that. I wake up and I'm like, oh, fuck, I've been grinding my teeth. I don't really do that, but like it was a bad dream and like my whole body is tense. So I'd really start paying attention to your dreams and start listening to what they're telling you. Could be a stress thing. You could be having triggers that you don't even know about, like during the day, and it causes you to have these dreams, and then the headaches. And then as far as like what can I do to like help me not have these issues, I would go with the motherwort tincture right off the bat before bed, just to help you kind of like calm down. It might put you in a better dream state. As far as the pain goes when you wake up, there are two things that I would use if it was me. I would use Sculpt Cap tincture, and I would start off with very small doses. And I would do all the research that I need to do to make sure that I'm using it safely and not while I'm breastfeeding, and to make sure that none of these things interact with medications you're on. If you are on medications, you might want to look into your medications and see if they're causing the headaches too, because most of the time, the sick, twisted irony of medications is they can have the same symptom as a side effect as they're used to get rid of, so you never know. Another thing that I use, I knew she was going to bark. Jill, you're okay. You're okay. It's all right. No, you're okay. It's just going to happen. Jill, come here. Come here. It's okay. It's okay. She says, no, it's not. Another thing that I use is pure CBD oil made from hemp. Now, you can use it made from herb, but you gotta make sure that you're in a state that allows it, and you gotta be willing to pay a ton more because they up the price because of the street value of herb. Hemp has no real street value. No one's like, I'm gonna drop $2,500 on a pound of hemp. They're just not gonna. So I order from Indoka.com. And that's not like a sponsored drop. I didn't get paid for that. I just really trust them, and the link will be under the video. And it's made from hemp, and at the moment, hemp CBD is still legal at the moment. I use that for my anxiety too, from PTSD and stuff like that, night terrors, what have you. And I like the raw hemp oil. You can choose which would work for you best. And it's just really helpful. Now, just like with any other herbs, it needs to build up in your system to really help. And then I'm going to do a product drop because that's how I roll. So you could totally buy some of my pain salve if you can get some of it. I mean, like, it goes fast through my shop updates. And try putting that on the back of your neck before you go to bed, before you even have a headache. Because I feel like a lot of this, I feel like your dreams trigger it, but I also feel like the dreams make you tense up. You know, like you're just, I don't know why I do that, but that's like how I feel. Like your whole body's going tense and you might not even realize it. Because what if you're having like this horrible dream and your body tenses up and that throws you into a migraine, but then you go into like a normal dream and you wake up and sometimes you don't always remember the bad dreams you're having. Oh, and I'm gonna go right back into how much water are you drinking? Most of the time when we have migraines and headaches, there are a lot of reasons, but a big one is there's not enough water, and then your gut health. You know how I told the other person about eating yogurt? I'd say that too. And I forgot to mention that, and you probably will. Fermented foods, real fermented foods would be great too. Any of that stuff is just good for you. With the fermented foods, go slow if you're new to it. If you eat too much, you'll experience die-off from all the bad stuff in your gut dying, and you just kind of feel yucky. So go slow with those. But yogurt, get on the yogurt. Yogurt's not going to cause that. So hopefully some of that helped with that question. And I haven't completely chased everybody off here. I get to joking around, and it helps me feel a little bit more comfortable, and I just have to work on being okay with being who I am, and if you don't like me, well, that's alright. So we'll be right back and jump into the next thing. Okay, I ate some lunch. So the next couple ones are kind of related. Not so much in what the question asked was, but what the issue was, and what I would do with these situations. And it's all about building blood and repairing iron levels and such like that. So hyperthyroidism, anything to do with your thyroid, Nettle is key. And this person said that they were already doing Nettle infusions. I want you to do more, and I want you to do it probably more frequently than you're doing. Make sure you're letting it sit for the 4 hours, and at this point I'd say go to a quart a day. You know, I mean, this is still sitting because it's still going. You think, oh man, it's a lot of liquid, but by the time you take out the plant matter, even if you have a press to squeeze it out, you're not going to get 4 cups out of that. So if you drank this a day of Nettle infusion, you'd be good to go. And then you can do nettle seed. Nettle seed is really great for your thyroid. It's a little stronger. Usually you can find that in tincture form. I want you to go out in the spring, or if you're in a warmer climate, there's nettles growing around right now. Make sure you identify it 3 times is the right thing. And eat some nettle. And some nettle, and did I mention nettle? It has been known in other people in other situations to straight repair. You know, it's going to nourish. And then we're going to get into that with the iron issue. Well, Nettle's amazing, and it's full of iron. It's also really high in vitamin B12, which you can't retain iron if you don't have enough vitamin B12. So I'd say dig into your medical reports and see what your vitamin levels are of B12 and ask. You know, it's kind of like with vitamin D. If you don't have enough magnesium in your body can't make vitamin D3. It just can't. You know, we need all these essential nutrients, and that's where these herbal infusions come in, because we are pulling out these amazing nutrients. And nettle, by the way, is like one of the most nutritious plants on earth. It even knocks blue-green algae out of the water. It really does. So we start repairing our bodies. Yellow dock root tincture would be my go-to as well. Of course, you're on medication. You need to make sure that none of these are in a ration, and do your research. There have been reports that show yellow dock root tincture, let me slow myself down here for a minute, will increase iron in your blood 2 times faster than iron supplements, and it's not going to kill your gut either. If you can't have alcohol, which the amount of alcohol you get in a tincture when you're taking those small doses is less than what you get from an overripe banana. So, but if you can't have alcohol, you could always make a vinegar infusion. You would just up your intake of that. What are you cooking in? Are you cooking in cast iron? You should be. People are probably going to hate the way I say that. I always tell people you should be. But I know that it's heavier, you know, to work with, and you gotta know how to clean them right. But it's really not that hard. I have an obsession. I have a lot. I'm also not anemic, even though they always tell me that I look anemic. I'm not. And it's because I use a lot of nettle, and I cook almost exclusively in cast iron. You know, make sure it's quality cast iron. Don't buy the stuff from China. You can go on to like shopgoodwill.com and look for cast iron, look for the markings, look for the old Wagner or Griswold. They're a little bit spendy. You can buy new ones like from Lodge, and that's just fine. You can even get them pre-seasoned. Just, you want to make sure that they're not, if it doesn't feel very heavy, it's probably mixed with unsafe metals. But you will get iron into your diet and then eat way more healthy animal fats. Bone broth. These are things that are going to give your body the ability to absorb and make this nutrition that you need. You can add nettle to your bone broth. You can add all that kind of stuff, you know. And then your vitamin B12 is just as important as the iron. You know, you can't have one without the other. It's like you can't have a broke down car and only fix one part. You can drive it a little while longer, but it's going to break down again because you didn't fix the whole situation, you know. And I know we can't always afford to fix the whole situation, but I think with our bodies it's a little bit different, you know. The next one goes into building blood, which is the same thing as building iron, really. From, unfortunately, the disgusting nature of our hospitals and how they treat birth, just in our society. I just hate it. This is a personal thing for me too. I want the person to know that asked this question that I feel that deeply, and with my son I went through being treated like a piece of garbage because I didn't conform to what they believed, and damage was done to me because of their decision to not help me because they just didn't care. So you need to build your blood back up. If I were in that situation, when, you know, how do I put this right? If I had known then what I know now, this is what I would do. I would get some kelp in my diet right now. It really, really is going to help you heal. I like to do infusions. I also like Dulce type of kelp. I like the flavor of it. And you start doing the infusions and you start drinking that, it's really going to help with your vitamin B12. Now, for with the thyroid issue, the reason I didn't mention that for it is because it tends to agitate people who have hyperthyroidism. So if you do try that, do it sparingly. But that's why I didn't mention it, because it's just not worth the risk. The yellow dog tincture, that's going to help build your blood back up after so much. This person had a lot of blood loss, hemorrhaging due to ignorant doctors after a home birth. Not the doctors at the home birth, they're talking about what happened at the hospital when they had an issue. Comfrey. She's going to help you heal on the inside. She's going to help just mass and cell production and really get in there and start just sorting things out. That's with the infusion, like how I talked about with the raspberry leaf. Those healthy fats, we talked about being a vegetarian. You really want to help your body. This is going to give me a lot of hate, but you want to really help your body repair from what can be neglect. We really just, you don't have to be a carnivore and go eat every piece of meat you see, but we need these fats for for so many reasons in our body. And you can do that with bone broth. Bone broth, bone broth, bone broth. And not like you boil some bones for a day. I want you to cook that shit for like 2, maybe 3 days. Like a lot. I want those bones to go soft and all that molten marrow, there it is, to come out. Same thing with the cast iron. Start using cast iron. And then for the B12, and this will be another thing people don't want to hear. When you're eating meat, if you eat meat and you can source it ethically and buy high quality meat and all that, start eating organ meats, particularly liver. Liver is a freaking powerhouse full of B12 and iron, crazy amounts of iron. But with liver in particular, I don't want you to touch it unless it's grass-fed or, you know, free range, or you go hunting, you know, and you harvest liver yourself. Because, you know, these are our filters. They're not meant to be cleaned. Just putting that out there. Do not try to clean the liver. But when we're unhealthy, our liver's unhealthy, and we don't want to eat something unhealthy. But that's the case for any meat, but liver especially. Whole milk, oh my gosh, I live off of it. And I live in an area where I can go buy raw milk at the store. But you don't have to do it raw. Unhomogenized is great. And even if you have to buy homogenized, get a really high quality one with the highest fat content. Sometimes, and I know I don't look like I have any fat in my life, but it's pretty much how I live. I've been telling you my whole life. I'll just straight buy like a really high quality half and half and drink a cup a day or more. And I add it to all my soups and stews and noodles and pastas and, you know, same thing, noodles and pasta. But I thicken it all up. Red meat. I know, everyone, red meat is so bad for you. Well, not in moderation. You're not going to eat a whole cow at once. Everything in moderation, people. And it's really, really high in iron and B12. And if you are like me, and if you can handle it, eat it. No more cooked than medium. You know, it's really hard on our body to digest cooked meat unless you cook it for a really long time. So either eat it rare-ish, or make like a 10-hour stew to where you break down those cell membranes. And then yogurt. Yogurt is a huge one, and it heals your gut, and it's got so much B12 in it and iron. And then this really, really random one here, Swiss cheese. Swiss cheese has a lot of B12. My phone is ringing. So, hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. That was my sister. She's very pregnant, so I had a few questions. Okay, so we were talking about blood loss during a birth trauma and rebuilding blood. You know, we talked about you guys just watched this section, but like I'm just coming back from a conversation, so let me catch up with myself. We talked about the kelp and the dulse infusions, whichever one you like better, or both. The yellow dock, the nettle for rebuilding and nourishing our bodies, the comfrey to help heal all things. It strengthens bone density anyhow. Way more bone broths, more animal fats, the yogurts and the Swiss cheese. And then, you know, you could do like dandelion leaves, plantain. They all have really good vitamin B12 levels. But the other thing that I have to bring up because it's personal for me is if we don't, and I'm not saying that you haven't dealt with the trauma, but it's easy to tell ourselves we have when we really haven't. And you know, a lot of people don't realize, and I just came to terms with it a few years ago myself, that a violent birth or aftermath of a birth because of a hospital, that was part of your birth experience, and it can cause legitimate PTSD. And if we don't heal from these issues emotionally, that shit gets rooted in deep, and then our bodies don't heal. You know, it's like a weeping wound. And that's not to say that your lack of healing is your fault by any means. I mean, if you feel the need that it's coming up in you, I really urge you to find somebody to talk to about birth trauma. There are a lot of people out there that specialize in it, unfortunately. I wish it wasn't needed, but unfortunately it kind of is. I had an ignorant doctor make it so I basically couldn't walk 2 months because she damaged me so bad by not listening to my wishes. So that it's just something that I wanted to touch on. But yeah, building blood is pretty important. You know, and those healthy animal fats, I can't stress them enough. They help with energy levels. They help keep things moving, and they keep us lubricated. And kelp does that too. And not the same. I mean, it just nourishes our body. Like, and I know I'm drifting here, but like, you know, we come from a dark, salty place, and our mothers, you know, we're basically like, we're in, you know, amniotic fluid is just, it's salt, you know, it's like we're part of the ocean, and like, we need healthy salts, like we need healthy fats. And so kelp is amazing for that. And there's a lot of studies that show that kelp doesn't actually retain radiation. It's one of the reasons that it's amazing for helping our bodies once we've been contaminated, you know, chemotherapy, radiation, all this stuff. But if you want to feel safe, see where you're sourcing it from. I get all mine from Ireland. You know, don't get it right next to Fukushima. I mean, even if there are studies, you know, just play it safe, and definitely, of course, do your research. I should have had another one ready. Well, I do have them ready, but I should have had another one here with me before I came back on, so I could just jump right to that. So I'll be right back in a second. Okay, I might not get all this done today, and you'll see me in a different outfit and think that I made like a scene change. No. Okay, so got a couple here to go over. I know I look really young, but I've got 2 kids that are half grown, and at the moment I have a teenage son and an almost teenage daughter, so I'm kind of dealing with this question myself as my daughter. We all tend to come into our womanhood at a young age in my family, so we're getting there. So, how to help a young woman get there. I guess not getting that out so well. We've got a hormonal daughter with parts that are growing and itching and stuff like that. So, totally gonna do a couple product drops here. I know, it's shameless, but it's like I can help you with this. So, for hair growing in, my daughter is using the Heal All salve, and she's probably going to shoot me if you say anything, but it really, really helps the itching stop. But if it's really bad itching, you can also use my itch cream, and both of which will be in stock. Hello, Jill, you're not going outside. Come my shop update on the 20th of January. And that one is really thickly infused chamomile oil. You could do that yourself too. Well, there's more in it than just that, but that one is stronger than cortisone, according to a lot of studies. This is Jill, and she is wanting something, but she can wait. Okay. If your daughter has had her moons already, and she was my daughter, I would start her on the raspberry leaf infusion that I've been showing here. Especially the week before her moons, if they're trackable yet. Or just kind of get it in her in general. It's good for her. It's not going to do her any damage. It tastes pretty good with some sweet cream in it, you know, or you can make it like iced tea, however you want to do it. But if you want to do it, you can do it. But if you want to do it, you can do it. And then, If she is, or when she does bleed, do not use synthetics of any kind. It's going to make her cramps worse. It's petroleum products, so I mean it increases your risk of cancer. It's pretty bad. You could use washable pads. There's reusable tampons if she's to that point yet. And remember, if you use a tampon, it doesn't actually take away your virginity. That's not the way that works. You probably know that, but you know, I gotta say it. If her breasts are sore, another product dropped. I will have more of my breast massage winter butter, which is completely safe. My daughter uses it in the mornings after a shower. That's when it's the best because your skin pulls it in, because she's really sore right now. Really getting that self-care started early, getting her connected to her body, helping her learn how to take alone time when she's just feeling so emotional she could eat you. You know, understand that, like, how, I don't know, we all say, oh, I remember when it happened to me, but I don't think we really do, because we've had so many experiences since then, since we started puberty, that we can probably remember bits and pieces of it, but we probably can't entirely relate to how they're feeling. So kind of just keeping that in mind when you think that they might be possessed and going at you. But so you could get her into journaling, something introspective, something that she can sit and do by herself. And that's not a way to get rid of her, but like, we all need to go within as women, especially during our moon times. And so if you can get her into that stuff, and I mean, don't force her. She needs to want to do it, but encourage it, you know, be like, well, why don't you write down how angry you are at me? But then don't read it. Remember, that's not how they're really feeling, and sometimes we just need to get it out of our head, and if we read it, we're just going to have our feelings hurt. But I mean, things like that. Also, I know you guys are tired of hearing me say this, but more healthy animal fats. It'll be easier on our body to let go of that amount of a resource, you know, blood, skin, tissue, if it has the excess or adequate amount of nutrition that it needs. Okay, we got a gal who is dealing with some foot fungus from being deep in the sticks, and I totally relate to you, hon. Spent most of my life traveling and living deep in the woods, and I've had some foot rot before. And it'll go away, and it'll come back, and it'll go away if you don't throw away those damn boots. Can't believe said person you asked advice for before, who I look up to a lot, didn't tell you to get rid of those boots. Get rid of those boots and any other shoes you're wearing. And I know that's gonna suck, because we get used to our boots and the few pairs of shoes or whatever shoes we have. It's in them all, hun, and it's not gonna go away, and you can't get rid of it. And then you need to be like hysterically clean for a couple of months, because that fungus, you're walking around barefoot, it's gonna get on your carpet. If you have carpet, I hate carpet. That way I'm too dirty for carpet. I gotta be able to disinfect shit. Just, you know, mop it. Socks, I know that sucks because they're wool. If you're gonna keep the wool ones, boil the hell out of them with white vinegar. You want to kill this fungus. Keep up on the oak bark and the white vinegar. You know, stay away from the apple cider vinegar because it leaves residual sugars, and absolutely it's connected to when you binge and eat sugar. Of course it is. Fungus lives and thrives off of sugar, which is why you can't use the apple cider vinegar to kill fungus on your body as well. So when you crave that sugar and you eat that sugar and it just goes into your body and it excretes everywhere. You can keep using the usnea oil. I would go with something a little stronger. Usnea is great, but she's pretty gentle, you know. She's more of a, like, you know, let me help you, let me do what I can, versus the being like, this is what you need to do and get the fuck out of my life. Fungus. Goldenrod root is fantastic for that. She's antifungal, antiviral. I know it's not really the time of year for it, but if you can get it and you can make it a powder, and you can soak it in a low sugar content oil, like sunflower oil would be a good one. Something that doesn't go rancid easy, because you're not trying to introduce more fungus, so I would stay away from like the olive oils. You could do yarrow oil too. It also wouldn't kill you to add a little bit of yarrow tincture to yourself, to just kind of help fight that off. And keep your feet so dry, so dry. And I know it's hard to do when you're on the sticks, but it's worth the fight. They do have these really cool socks now that like don't get wet. The key with that is you need to keep your feet dry from the outside moisture, but you also need to keep your feet protected from the moisture you make when you sweat. Firefighters have a really neat trick, and this is from my husband. I'm talking about wildland firefighters, to keep their feet dry that way. They put on a pair of wool socks. God, I know that sounds crazy. But then you cover it with a pair of cotton socks. And that is going to wick the moisture away, and it's going to soak into the cotton. Then you could get the special waterproof socks. I'll try to Google them and put a link below, but if I can't find it, I've seen them a million times. My husband has some of them. If I can find them this time of year. I got a whole hoard of clothes in my room. The brand name, and you can put those on over, so it would keep your feet protected from the outside and from the inside. And do your best throughout the day. I know, but when you sit down to have lunch or some type of break, change your socks. You can still use those socks again the next day, but just keep your feet dry. And get a good pair of boots, and start breaking them in now for then, after you get your fungus taken care of. And when you start craving them sugars, most of the time when we crave sugar, even if it's from a place of sadness or emotions, our body actually wants protein. When you're like, oh God, fucking candy bar sounds so good, try to eat a piece of jerky instead, or yogurt, or an egg, anything protein, even nuts, although they tend to have higher sugars, and of course jerky will too, if it's like mass production stuff. That is one thing that you should think about. I was going to say something else and it totally slipped out of my head. So, alright, I'm going to come back after getting ready for the next couple of questions. See you in a bit. Okay, we're down to the wire here. So, I just want to say before I get started on these last ones that if I didn't get to your question, please don't take it personally. I might cover it in the next one, and if I do, I'll email you. Some of them kind of were similar, so I'm kind of hopeful that you maybe heard some information in there that you could use for your situation. Some of the stuff on there I've addressed really deeply, such as depression and seasonal affective disorder, on my Instagram. So you can kind of dig through my feed there. I know I type long posts, but I generally, in the first few paragraphs, tell you what I'm going to be talking about. So we're going to jump right into a family that's having some issues with healthy kids getting sick often, and a tired daughter. And it was two separate questions, but we can put them together. So, if I had a daughter that was really tired all the time, and she was a little older, early teens or whatnot, I would right off the bat stop letting her sleep 14 hours a day. Even if they're younger, it's really, really not healthy to get more than 8 hours of sleep, and studies have shown that we actually have more energy if we get around 7 hours of sleep. So, 10 to 11 hours at night and another 2-hour nap during the day is just too much sleep. It actually You know, you ever get a sleep hangover, you just slept in too much, you feel groggy, it's hard on your body. We only repair ourselves when we sleep for so long, and then after that we've become, well, malnourished from not eating, and we begin to eat our energy reserves, and we just wake up and we're like, oh, I've been hit by a truck. I know you stated that you guys are vegetarian and eat limited dairy. I am a little concerned about her nutrition levels. Now hear me, I know you feed your daughter well. It doesn't mean that you're, you know, but sometimes, especially if we're eating a lot of uncooked foods, not that you didn't say you did that, but I just put that out there. When we eat raw vegetables, we barely get any nutrition from them. Remember how I talked about meat, how you have to cook it barely at all or for a really long time to break the cell structure down? Well, it's the opposite with vegetables. They have really, 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 really strong cell linings. And I'm talking like the cellular level of this plant. When you eat them raw, your stomach just can't fully digest them. So if you cook them really well, the nutrients become readily available. You see how it's like meat should be raw, I mean not poultry and stuff, are cooked really well. And vegetables, I know that raw vegetables are good sometimes and that's okay, but I mean I would make sure that like 50% of my vegetable intake or more as a really well long cooked meals, you know. You're not vegan, so you've heard me say it how many times. I would really, really uptick animal fats. Bone broth. I keep mentioning bone broth because it's so easy. Especially if you know how to can food, you know, meat per se, because it is a broth, even though there's no solid meat in it. It's just such an easy way to say, you know what, here's a quarter bone broth, and today y'all are going to drink, you know, 1 cup in the morning and 1 cup in the evening. You can use it, you need broth to cook something, you know, stock, dump that right in there. You can add your nourishing herbals to it. And you can really make it whatever flavor you want. There's entire books out there. In fact, the gal who writes for Nourish Kitchen, she does the books for that. She's got a great broth book. It's a recipe book all about broths, you know, and any broth can be turned into a bone broth if it has bones in it. And so you can freeze it too, you know, and just take it out when you need it. And that would really help up the fat intake. A little bit of dairy, that's good too. I would focus on the higher end fat stuff for that. But I would suggest if the tiredness has been going on that long, definitely see a doctor. Vitamin B12 levels might be like really low. And you don't have to go like a full-on doctor appointment. You know, most of the time, in the U.S. anyhow, I'm not sure if you're in the U.S. or not, but if you are, you can just go to a lab, you know, like where they test your blood and stuff, and just say, I'd like a panel done, which is where they test all of your mineral levels and everything, and you can ask for kidney functions. You can do all that at the lab, where they draw the blood anyways, upon doctor's request, usually without a doctor. So if you don't have insurance, it can save you money. I've done it myself a bunch to check things, you know. Once again, I'm not a doctor. I am absolutely not a doctor. But I would be concerned about anemia and such, and you can kind of nitpick through some of the stuff I've talked about here. And you know, we can remove foods to see if that makes somebody feel better, but then we forget that like we can also add foods to see if that makes them feel healthier, you know. And it's just easy to slowly, it's easy to become malnourished while we're trying to nourish ourselves, and that's just how I explain it. Like, we try really hard to be healthy and we end up being restrictive. Like, sometimes I used to tell myself, oh, I shouldn't eat that because it's not healthy for me. But then I just don't eat that. But then I maybe don't eat that great of a meal or something. I mean, like, I might eat a healthy snack instead, but like, to an extent, a not so great for you meal is better than not eating enough. And I know that's not where you're coming from. You didn't say that she doesn't eat enough. I just mean like you can kind of take that logic and apply it to other areas. We try really hard to be healthy and we end up limiting ourselves so much that we end up kind of not being as healthy. You know, if that makes sense or not. If it doesn't, it's okay. And I'd say that runs into like with your kids getting colds and stuff all the time. It's kind of a symptom of our bodies just don't have the energy to fight it. But you can combat that with like the nettle infusion that I've talked about. I mean, I know I talk about that one a lot, and I will, because the thing is like you don't need a million herbs to help with a few problems. A lot of them, they're interchangeable, and at the end of the day, we all need good nutrition. So the nettle infusion is a good one, and that one I like. I mean, don't try to sweeten it, and usually I suggest nettle infusions cold, because sometimes when they're warm, they put so much energy into us that they can make us feel kind of pukey. That's not everybody's experience, that's just mine. And they're better savory tasting, so like I'll add some fish sauce or some salt or whatever. And then as far as herbals, I don't know what you are using, but herbs that increase the immune system would be elderberry, and that's pretty safe for kids. And then linden flower is a good one, and that's a nice calming drink too. And then, so yeah, I mean, I would definitely increase fat intake, and I don't know, you could be using bone broth. If you are already doing that stuff, by all means, think about getting her to a doctor to check out why she's so tired. But 14 hours is too much sleep for sure, and almost, you know, any doctor will agree with that. And I know that it's easy to get into that cycle because we're tired, so we sleep more. We wake up and we're like, oh God, I'm tired, I want to go back to bed. But, you know, and it's hard to say, well, you're tired because you sleep too much, you know, and because that first week of getting out of that sleep addiction, because it can be an addiction based on the cycle of over and over again, that first week getting out of it can be kind of rough. Okay, so the next one is healing after a major surgery on the spine. I feel like I gotta say it again, I'm not a doctor, and I only have like one reply to this, and it's Comfrey infusion. You need your bones to heal. They call Comfrey knit bone. It's an amazing builder of bones. All women should be drinking it. I mean, you know, it helps prevent and reverse osteoporosis, bone density. I have had horrible teeth from just genetics and the hard childhood, teenage years of not really eating right. And they told me about 5 years ago or so that I needed to have all my teeth pulled out because they were all going to run out of my head. They were so weak. While that might be the case in the next 10 years when I'm tired of only being able to halfway chew stuff because my insurance won't give me anything for my bottom. But I completely repaired the density in my teeth by drinking Comfrey infusion. And I would just do Comfrey infusion. I mean, it's as simple as that. And you know, you can up your nutrition, you know, with the nettle and the million times I've mentioned everything else. But you can keep on that nettle infusion and Comfrey infusion. And I'm going to give a link at the bottom to where you can order herbs at for both, a place that I trust. It's not affiliated or anything with me, so I don't get money if you buy from them. Okay, the next thing is children with autism and ADHD, and they were asking about what other herbs they could add to their arsenal to help with these situations and sensory issues. The first thing I want to say is they mentioned that they use skullcap. I really wouldn't use that with kids. It's in adults, I don't know, our bodies are bigger and able to process. There are some links with excessive skullcap use for liver damage, but those studies were always done with a preparation that used a different herb with it, which the name honestly escapes me now because I don't really use those super strong herbs, but I wouldn't use skullcap on a regular basis for kids. That being said, I really would use Milky oats. You know, I talked about it earlier. It's a really good calmative. If there's fear involved, you know, like fear, deep anxiety, fear of sensory issues. Motherwort is great for that. Like, she literally, it's like a mom holding her lap. She is just really good for irrational fears. I mean, they're irrational to the children. They're irrational to the person who sees it. I've been there, you know, and motherwort's a good one. And then, this one's going to be controversial, but CBD oil saves lives. And of course, you need to be in a state where it's legal, and I can't advise giving it to children and all that kind of stuff. But really, CBD oil would be great. And when you get it from hemp, it has 0.00 some odd 1% THC, meaning it wouldn't even show up in a urine test, and it doesn't get them high at all. CBD oil does not get you high. The stuff that's made from herb and has, 1% THC, it will. I have CPTSD and herb. THC is not good for sensory issues, anxiety. It can help some. It helped me for a lot of years, but it helps more like a Band-Aid in my opinion. And I think that out of all the compounds in herb, it is the least helpful. And CBD is the real healer in my opinion. I think they all kind of need each other in a way, but that's a big whole nother rant. But you can get the CBD oil from the Endoka.com place, so I'll have a link below under the video. And, once again, that's completely your call, and check your state legal regulations and all that stuff. The next one is a poor gal who's got some allergies going on. And you remind me of my dad. He's got a lot of allergies to everything, and it's probably saved my life growing up because we couldn't burn incense, perfume, anything. So I wasn't exposed to a lot of essential oil stuff or VOCs. Goldenrod tincture, goldenrod honey, goldenrod tea. It is fantastic for allergies. It's really, really good. And it's good for your kidneys and all around. And then people don't really think about this one, but elderberry. Elderberry is great at helping us with seasonal allergies in general. And then if you could eat some, if your diet or your allergies allow it, local honey would be great. I mean, and by local, I mean not in a store that says local honey. I've seen those. I'm like, well, why do you got to put that in asterisks? But local honey, and if you could get local bee pollen, that would be amazing. When we start eating this local honey, like local to within 50 miles at most, we start getting the things that the bees are eating in us, and we build an immunity to it. And of course, if you're allergic to honey, don't do that. Some people are allergic to honey, and that always breaks my heart because honey is so healing. Okay. So, we're on to the last one, and it's a big one that I am not going to pronounce right. It's abbreviated as HS disease, hydradenitis suppurativa. Basically, it's a disease where you get these intense cysts and infected boils all over your body. This one broke my heart because I really just I hope that that I can help her find some relief. And I mean, they're all bad. I mean, not everything's bad. I don't know. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my goodness, I wish that I could be there with you to like guide you in person to help. So there's not a lot known about it. I gave myself a headache reading about it for days, really. There's little bits and pieces all over of who thinks this and who thinks what, and it seems like none of the doctors or anybody's really come together to like mash everything together, and I feel for situations like that because it becomes really hard to like, how can you expect people to treat you? I mean, doctors, medical, and none of them are like pooling all this information together. One reads this, oh, we need to do this. One reads this, we need to do that. So, the one thing they all do tend to agree on is that it originates in the kidneys, which is what the person who asked the question had mentioned to me. So with that, I would say support your kidneys. And with that, you can do that by drinking dandelion root tea. I know that sounds too simple, but it's such a tonifier. It helps our kidneys function at their full capacity. And I don't mean like it pushes them, it makes them, it forces them. It just gives them what they need to be happy. I like roasted dandelion root tea personally with sweet cream. It is so good. Well, if you like bitters, like a coffee, I would stay away from coffee, to be honest, no matter who you are. Oh my goodness. That one is just going to have to wait because I don't know who that number is. Sorry. I have kids at school, and so I don't want to turn it off in case something goes wrong, because I have bad luck with stuff like that. So, dandelion root tea really tonifies your kidneys, helps it function. My own sister, she just liked drinking it in general, and when she went and had kidney panels and stuff done, the doctors were shocked at how well her kidneys were functioning. They were told her that she should be a 16-year-old Amish kid. And she's a little on the heavier side, and that's fine. We're all different that way. So they expected her kidneys to not be functioning great because, unfortunately, when we are heavy in general, our kidneys kind of take the brunt of it. Okay, so Comfrey infusions. You guys think I'm like a broken record. She's only got so many tricks up her sleeves. Well, no, Comfrey really heals us from the inside out, and it boosts skin regeneration, and it's amazing. It's amazing. So infusions, and then I would even do poultices on the boils when they occur. And if you're allowed to take baths, I tried to look into that because I didn't know, because there's a problem with healing with this, where it just doesn't want to heal because it's an autoimmune issue. So you don't know if getting them overly moist like that is advisable. So I'm not sure on that, but a comfrey bath, kind of like a sitz bath where you boil up a bunch of comfrey for a while, let it sit like an infusion, and you dump it in with your warm water. That way you could get it all over your skin, but I'm not sure on that. Vitamin D and linden infusions, those are great autoimmune allies. They really, really help us get that autoimmune kind of calmed down. Because like your body is like overreacting. It's like forget about everything. And so it really helps bring that calm. And you can get the vitamin D by just going into the sun for 10 minutes a day if it's out, like the sun's hitting me in the face right now, and close your eyes. And stand there. We absorb a majority of our vitamin D3 through our eyelids. And then I would really say oat straw infusion would be great because it's a nerve tonic. And when people think nerve, they think, oh, I'm frazzled, I'm stressed out. Well, it's that too, but I'm talking about nerves in your brain, nerves in your nerve endings, how you feel. So that could really help there. So I read a lot that it's hormone related. And that's kind of tricky because, like, I don't like to tell people don't take birth control because I'm not going to raise the kid if you have it. But birth control is horrible for women, hormonal birth control, and it just does our body no good. And if it is hormone related, like a lot of people theorize, that would just be a disaster for it. And you could look into doing red clover infusions. Once again, you don't want to do those constantly. You would want to maybe alter them with the comfrey and the linden because it is a blood thinner, so you don't want to take that all the time. Do not take echinacea. It usually is amazing for helping heal wounds because it increases your white blood cell. But the issue is with an autoimmune, that's what's attacking you. And it can really throw you into a bad bout. Anybody on autoimmune with an autoimmune issue should not touch echinacea. And then soy, get the soy out of your diet. Hormone related, once again, I talked about how it's a long estrogen and it's not good for you. So some other herbs are calendula and plantain. You can make oils out of those and apply them to the areas that are affected for calming. They're really gentle. They're pretty common. Now I know that some of you might be like frustrated that I didn't give like super crazy in-depth like Latin names and I don't know. I want to help you, but I want you to help yourself. I want to give you answers that cause you to go look for the rest of the information. Because I feel like in our health system, whether it's scientific or herbalism, that we want a quick fix and we want someone to fix it for us and then just be on our way. And now I want to help, but I also want you to help yourself. And I know I already said that, but I mean, like, I want you to dig and I want you to learn and I want you to be able to look at somebody and say, this helped me. And they'll be like, well, what does it do? You won't just be like, well, she said it would. You'll be like, well, it does this and this and this, and this is how it helped me. Because then you're like spreading that knowledge, you know, like I had been answering tons of one-on-one questions about herbs and it helped that individual person at that time. But when I make these videos, the person who asked the question isn't going to be the only one who sees the answer, and so the knowledge spreads and getting you to dig into these herbs spreads. And I really hope that I didn't scare everybody away and that the video wasn't completely horrible. I'm sure I'll get better at it, or I'll just completely bow my head and walk away from the concept. So I hope that was some help to you guys and that my social awkwardness wasn't completely blaring. So, well, I guess I'll see you next week, and if you have a question for me, go to wildwoodapothecary.org. You'll find the link on my profile here, and go to where it says Ask an Herbalist and submit your question. And if I pick you to answer your question, you will get an email the day before I publish the video. Be sure to follow me here if you like what I'm doing. And on Instagram, I'm at She's of the Woods, and you can also find that link in my profile here. And I talk about all kinds of stuff on there. I try not to completely bombard you with what I'm selling. I try to keep an even mix of like giving and taking type stuff. Anyhow, so thank you for joining me, and have a good one.